Hello there, and welcome to my new build guide for something with Mystic Summoners, without Elementals, and without Eldritch for the first time. So, it's kind of a Astral White Mage build, and I'm shocked on how good it is. So, you're utilizing a lot of Magic Origin units as usual, and you're using your allies and a lot of convincing power to get what you want. So, more about that in the tome section. In the racial and cultural traits, I go with a very classy combination. There is not much that beats for me the combination of arcane focus and keen-sighted on the Mystic faction in general, as we are featuring so many racial units that have magic attacks and ranged attacks that this is a very good fit. You could swap out either of these to buff up your cultural frontline if you'd wanted to, but I don't really see that as a feasible thing. And adaptable, yeah, we want that extra experience, of course. Many reasons. This build utilizes this more than others even. We are Mystic Summoners. That means we do get a healing and an empowering effect whenever we cast a spell on the battlefield. Very important to note, this replaces the Starblade's attunement you might be used to, and we can use Astral Echoes to level up Magic Origin units. We are using Magic Mana Channelers because obviously this is such a power card for any summoner build. I don't think I need to explain much about this. There's Keepers of Knowledge, which I am really finding very useful as of late. And since this build is utilizing free cities already a lot, this one comes in super handy. It generates extra knowledge when you put Whispering Stones into free cities, and you gain extra knowledge for border treaties, which brings you to a nice and nifty position where you can just tank somewhere down and win the game from a comfy position of many friends. Now, we are going next to the tome section, where we're going to have some fun. First off with Evocation. This is the backbone of what damage dealing things, as most of our tomes that we pick won't have too much of a punch. We're picking this up for the Lightning Focus, which powers up Battle Mages and Supporters, and Lightning Blades, which powers up our frontline decently. This also gives us a nice damage over time effect. Fulmination is a good AoE nuke that also heals and buffs your units because we're summoners, and Lightning Torrent is really good as it lowers the enemy's resistances, but, well, I rarely use map spells that often because I often forgot about them, honestly. Anyways, the Evokers are not too important for this build, as we do have a lot of Magic Origin Battle Mage units, so you can't skip on these. And the Lesser Storm Spirits, look, we're not an elemental build, but they're really nifty and useful and synergize quite well with this build, so we're rocking them. They're hard to kill with ranged units, they get easily on top of people, and we get to evolve them into tier 3 shock troopers that come in very handy. But we're not relying only on elementals this time, don't you worry. We got the Channeling Tower for all of our mana needs and the ability to build a conduit on any city that we want. The other tier 1 I went for is the Tome of Faith. Here we pick up Staves of Mending for insane healing power, a free touch action for every supporter, also available for your heroes, and a very nifty supporter that has a burst heal, single target, and debuff cleanse, and a buffing spell. So Chaplains are really nice side by side with Soothers, as I personally think Chaplains have more utility options, and Soothers, well, they have a one-time bonus reducing spell costs, but I personally found that these guys are a preferable unit for my personal playstyle. Convent is really nice, as Happy Cities give us more resources. Faithful Whispers gives us a nice way of dominating free cities, and Wrath of the Faithful will be a very powerful tool all over the board in the future. At the beginning, it only procs on your supporters as they go faithful, but over the course of the time, you will have most of the time the maximum damage on this thing, and it hits quite hard on that point. So, the Abbey is a really nice building, even more so if you happen to put it right next to farms. since I mostly build a few farms on any of my cities, this is a really nice synergy, and knowledge points are always a welcome sight. Tier 2 comes, and we're going for Beacon next. So from this point on, it'll be very, very hard for your units to die, out of many, many reasons. First off, we gain a new summonable, the Divine Beacon, which you can just put behind your backline, and these bad boys heal and buff in a 2 hex radius. It is not that much what they do, but they are highly spammable due to their low costs, and this really is something you feel over the course of the time. You also gain a nice power-up for your tier 1 units, and Mighty Meek turns all your tier 1s into faithful units, and it buffs their damage against higher tier units. The fun part about this is we are summoning tier 1 units like crazy. This build spams so many tier 1 units on the battlefield that are all affected by Mighty Meek. This is a really, really surprisingly powerful side of this Tome Fortress build that I didn't even see coming. I wanted to experiment around with the next power card, namely the Lightbringer, but I'll talk about that in a second. But Mighty Meek is amazing for the Mystic Summoners, as, yeah, I'm showing it to you to, I'm going to show it to you in the unit section of this video, and you'll see how many tier 1 units we can plot out. Mighty stuff. They are also faithful, so they'll buff up the damage on the Wrath of the Faithful on that end. I love that. Lightbringers. They have a decent range attack, being a tier 2 battle mage, nothing too special to write home about, but they can convert units. The fun part about this is we are, after this unit, we are able to pick up whatever magic origin unit we encounter that seems likable for us. We can't just see, oh, that thing here, I'm going to pick it and convert it. If you have 3 or 4 Lightbringers on your army, you are pretty sure to convert something that you want to recruit, because dominated means after the battle, pay some mana, keep the unit. This is not applicable to all units, some of them are immune against that, but in a nutshell, the Lightbringer enables you to just get whatever you want. The entire battlefield is an all-you-can-eat buffet, and you can just pick up whatever unit you like. I love that. Covenant of the Faith brings us to the point where we get Faithful Rally of the Leashed unit. You see the Faithful stuff because starts to be everywhere, and extra mana from vassal cities. That is really, really lovely. Blast reinforcements, I don't know. I think this is very situational. I guess if one of your cities gets attacked, it is amazingly cheap and powerful, since these are 2 tier 3 units, but yeah, beyond that, enlighten me if I'm missing the point of this one. Champion of the Faithful. Pick this up for your heroes. It is so good, as you just spam out a morale bonus over the entire battlefield, and like I said, faithful stuff is available for us everywhere. Tier 2, we pick up after the Beacon Tome, the Scrying Tome, as this one offers us so many things that we want. Mental Mark is a nice 1 hex radius softener if your enemies are hard to kill. Guided Projectiles makes it really easy to hit from whatever angle, and is a very nice quality of life upgrade for your battle mages, even to the point that it increases your damage per turn, because you can often shoot more reliable while retaining more movement points. Very, very substantial thing. And the Watcher. This is our tier 3 staple magic origin battle mage. Since the summoners get as a cultural unit a supporter, we had a blank spot, and the Watcher fills that one. He has a nice damage, and he has a skill to nuke, stun, and mark enemies. It's really a lot of damage, always hitting, huge range, and single target, sadly, so we're not that good at nuking large areas of the battlefield, but the Watcher is summonable, reliable, and the only downside is that you need a pretty hefty summoner's tower for that, but beyond that, good stuff. You can pretty much ignore Tower of True Sight and Scry Enemy in the PvE environment. I think in PvP they are substantial, I don't know. But these 3 spells are absolutely worth the tome. Precognition is also for your heroes to give them guided projectiles themselves. Tier 3 comes, and we're going to pick up Teleportation next. Teleportation comes in as a very, very interesting thing in between. The Phase Beast is a Magic Origin Tier 4 Shock Trooper. So at this point, you have backline access with a thing that can hit like a truck. We can buff it up like crazy, and they're stupidly hard to kill. I'll show you some stats of it in a hot minute, but in short, these bad boys are able to take out whatever you need. They are low maintenance troops and 100 mana. Here again, only downside, you need a heavily upgraded Mage's Tower for that, because tier 4 units need it all the way up to the apex. Phasing enchantment is a godsend for all of your battle mages. So whenever somebody gets pressured, they just phase away. So at this point, it becomes really easy for your battle mages and supporters to just do their thing even if they get pressured. This is really, really good stuff. Astral trade relays are good for your economy in every aspect, because the more of them, the better. Mass Recall is an amazing tool, allowing you to just yoink back frontier armies. And emergency teleportation, well, what can I say? It is just what the name implies. It's a heal and a displacement, a positive displacement effect. Pick up Quick Phase for your heroes if you like. It is an amazing skill, as unlike the phasing enchantment, because it gets a free action. And the Chrono Gates, it's very worthwhile mentioning these, gives you free teleporter provinces. I think Tome of Teleportation is one of the most underestimated tomes in the game, in my humble opinion. Next up, we pick up Sanctuary. So Sanctuary is the point where we just are stupidly hard to kill. Keeper's Mark, while our frontline is not featuring any tier 3 units at this point, well, we have tons of healers, and on top of that, they get a free get out of jail card if they ever get smacked, and they also get faithful. So at this point, your entire army is basically already faithful. Anointed People gives you nice resistance bonuses. Salvation gives you a good blitz heal in any aspect. Consecrated Domain makes it super hard to lose in your home domain, or, well, it's a really, really substantial bonus at least. And Healing Spires, well, these things are really, really cool, as you just get healed all day. You can focus on other things while you're attacked in your own home turf. Sanctuary gives you much staying power on the battlefield and makes it really hard to siege you down because of also Sanctuary, the spells here. Sanctuary makes pillaging harder, and Sanctify is also a pretty heavy buff spell, as, can I say, you really lower the damage in somebody. Put that on a high tier unit and you can really see how impervious somebody can get. And the last point for this build is obviously the Tome of Exaltation, because the Shrine of Smiting just fits so darned well into the build. It gets more powerful the more faithful people we have, and with this build you permanently have the full bonus. So that's the first thing. Angelic Transformation is just nice to have, because at that point, really everybody becomes faithful except for the Magic Origin units, but they get that somewhere else too. We can resurrect people, and we can directly rank up people, which is very synergistic. I'll mention why later. Temple of the Exalted is again more stability, synergizes more into the things that we had before. Exalted Brilliance is, well, I'm not a big fan. It's too much cost for what it does. But Ruler's Statue is really nice as it gives you nice bonuses, and your ruler respawns faster, and you keep spell casting even if your ruler is in the void. This one thing makes this, wow, I love that alone for the sake of that. And last but not least, go for Astral Convergence to buff up your summonings like even crazier. Let's move on over to the roster. So, we should not waste too much time in either Arcane Guards or Arcanists. Both of these get replaced stupidly fast, and if you should try to bolster up your ranks, pick up rather 1 or 2 more Arcanists if you really have to, and preferably summon a few more Storm Elementals instead. If you can, skip the entire tier 1 rank altogether, as we have so many ways to get this part here filled up by any other means. We don't need to recruit anything. Just as a last leg to stand on, both of these units aren't bad. We just have so much better at our hand. Chaplains, like I said, are, for me personally, the good replacement for the Soother. So the Soother has a double heal, which makes him heal in a net total 40 instead of the 30 of the Chaplain, but it's a little bit hard to aim. And altogether, I personally think the spell channeling bonus, since it doesn't stack, the Chaplain just has one skill more, and the ability to just increase the damage profile of somebody by a lot. So I personally think, well, maybe something like 3/4 to 1/4 between Suitors and Chaplains is my personal go-to thing. Like I said, Evokers can be skipped entirely. They aren't bad, but we have so many more Magic Origin Tier 2 options in Battle Mage section that it really is not so much of an appeal. They are useful, their Electrifying Arc and their magic attacks are decent, but that's about it. The Suitor, I already mentioned that one, but the Spell Shield. This is your grade A frontline that you will rely on for quite some time. They're pretty hard to kill, they have a nice AoE stun ability, and due to the fact that they are mounted, they are also decently fast on the battlefield. Really good all-rounder. They can be healed up and will be healed up a lot. They can be buffed up a lot, and altogether keep them alive. They're basically what you'll put between the enemy and your mages, so they can do their thing. They'll get supported though by a lot of summons, so they're not taking the entire weight on their own shoulders alone. Summoners are amazing. These guys are able to summon a unit just depending on what we have cast. In our case, we are summoning a lot of Spirit Hawks or Lesser Storm Spirits with these. Here, due to all the things that we do to our Tier 1 units, these are surprisingly effective. Astral Bond allows them to link with a Magic Origin unit, and putting something like this on a Phase Beast is fun. Seriously. It is also fun to put that on your Watchers or whatever high-level Magic Origin unit you have pilfered on your journeys. It is really, really that cool. I love these guys. So, what's left to say is that they don't have any innate healing abilities, but due to our add-on of Mending Touch, they do. And they also have a pretty decent magic attack, so pretty nifty unit, and they provide lots of summons for your battlefield, and I really, really like the work they do there. So, where's my army hiding? There's my army hiding. So, let's move over to the Lightbringer. These very holy fish-like creatures have the conversion skill I already talked about, and are, to me personally, very amazing to put into your armies in a bulk. The only downside to these is that they make your army auto-battle inefficient, because Convert has a lower range and the AI is addicted to converting things, bringing your Lightbringers often into a very unfavorable position during the battle. I just need to mention that because it's comically stupid when you watch them, what they do there. But apart from that, they are amazing. And if you don't even want to recruit a unit, they can also take out somebody, like, yeah, for free-ish. It's even a nuke if it doesn't succeed, so it's a mini nuke. 15 damage ain't that much, but you get my idea. It's still a little bit more powerful than their basic attack. Fantastic unit, and will be used in your roster mostly to acquire units and bring in the damage where needed. The Watchers, I've already introduced them, as what they do are your prime magic ranged damage dealer. They're amazing, as they really are hard-hitting beasts with a nice utility effect. It is really wonderful to have a spammable tier 3 mage unit like that. And the phase beasts, they are being displaced when they get hit for the first time. By the way, canceling all remaining attacks. So that means if somebody tries to whack them 3 times, the other 2 attacks go into nothing. And they have, like I said, a reduced unit upkeep, which is pretty fantastic for a tier 4 unit. And they can also phase, since they are shock troopers. That 1 point they have left is all it takes to take out their full damage. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And since you don't need to worry too much if any of them dies, since you can easily replace them via re-summons. And the Storm Spirit will fill them up wherever you can early on, and if you... They are really good until you have the Face Beasts. The Face Beasts are basically the better version of these. So, your army should consist out of basically 60 to 70% summoners, battle mages, and stuff, and a little bit of frontline, since we are summoning all the things on the battlefield that we require. A experienced player could even go up to 75 to 80% backliners and only 20% frontliners. It is a bit of a gambit though, so be wary of that. You're very much after a economy that can build your Mage's Tower as fast as possible. This is probably the main downside of this build, that it relies on these structures so darn much. We want to have the tier 2 Mage's Plaza immediately, as our tier 1 roster is basically non-existent for us. After that we want a tier 3 Town Hall as quick as possible, because the summoners are such a massive power-up for us. We want the upgrades to the Wizard Tower, and that's every one of them. Level 1 for the Lightbringers, Level 2 for the Watchers, Apex for the Phase Beasts. You're constantly under pressure to build something in your capital city, more than with any other build that I've done in the recent time. So this is something that I can't stress out enough. Therefore, try to get your economy together. Here in a way where, like here, I did it in a pretty nice way. I got myself very early a lot of cities. That little pesky dwarven lady here needs to go, but you get the idea. Your throne city will be very busy to churn out these buildings. Therefore, it is a bit of a challenge to keep up your science output, because I had a bit of a slow start due to this, because I was very busy building up all this. But the good part about this all is I didn't feel the slowish progression at all, because of all the options that you got here. I want to point out my finger especially at Philosopher Soldiers. This is so stupidly abusable with this build, due to the fact that we can invest Astral Echoes into leveling up magic origin units. From this point on, you can convert your Astral Echoes into knowledge, with the side effect of having a leveled up magic origin unit. What's not to love about that? You also have a pretty steep income of order affinity points, which means you get a lot of progression in the cities, in the free city gameplay. Overall, this build has a very easy time in vassalizing free cities. If you don't have free cities available, there is a nice little trick. Beat the weakest AI enemy, take their city, vassalize it afterwards, give it free. Then you have the free cities to work with. This is sometimes something you have to work with. This build gets substantially weaker if you don't have free cities to work with. If you know that your realm doesn't have free cities to work with, swap out Keepers of Knowledge, as this thing is really relying on a realm where you can use it. Rally of the Lieges is an amazing tool for this build, as we have so many bonuses. We could also go for some of the upgrades here, if I remember correctly. I keep forgetting about these so often. Here. The Exemplar, though, if it is a magic origin unit, you won't get the, differently said, you don't get this one here. You don't get the 30 point, the points here, I had the impression, but I am not quite sure. This is something where I need some research, but my impression was that these two don't drink together. Anyways, altogether, lots of staying power, you will revolve a lot around healing your units. Your heroes ideally churn out more units, fill the battlefield like crazy with troops, and try to lead the damage onto units that are summoned. If not possible, spam out Astral Wards to mitigate the damage accordingly. And if nothing of this has to be done, use Divine Beacons in big battles to buff up your units, or you fulminate the enemy but cast spells in return to boost up your summoned units, preferably before they act. Have fun with this one. It is crazy how powerful it is. You almost never lose troops because you have so much healing power, and I enjoyed this build thoroughly. So thanks for the inspiration. If you have any other ideas, let me know in the comment section. Leave a thumbs up, consider subscribing, check out the description box, and feel free to support the channel. I deeply appreciate all of your support that you are giving, and a big thanks to everybody watching this video. I really appreciate your time spent on this one. Have a good one, and see you soon.